Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilbourn, backstage at WrestleMania, joined by a legend of the podcast game, Sam Roberts. Sam, how are you enjoying WrestleMania?
VIP.
Yes.
Did we notice that?
I just got a press one.
Oh, no. VIP, okay? So I'm very much enjoying it.
How are you enjoying Las Vegas? You were at the Comedy Cellar, was it last night?
Tonight, actually, earlier this evening, yeah, I did the live podcast at the Comedy Cellar here. Dominik Mysterio was the guest, and he brought Capri Sun on stage with him and drank it the whole time because he said he needed to hydrate before his Intercontinental Championship match.
He's one of the favorites for that match. Look, Dom's had an amazing few years, hasn't he? Could you ever envisage what he could become when he was sort of just introduced as Ray's son?
When he was introduced, no, absolutely not. When he was introduced, it was like, I don't know. I mean, it's almost like Ray deserves the opportunity, but you're going like, this is for Ray. Yeah. And then, I mean, when we talked about it a little bit, like, I think up until he got arrested, I was like, once he got arrested, it was off to the races. And it literally hasn't stopped since.
Yeah, he's become such a formative part of the Judgment Day, and now people are talking about him winning the IC title.
Yeah, and I think he's going to. I want him to. I think a lot of people want him to, and which is amazing that you can not only draw that level of reaction, but do it consistently. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's been well over a year, and it just doesn't die down. Yeah,
and I think, when he had his match with his dad at WrestleMania, we all thought what an amazing WrestleMania moment that was. But it felt like, okay, well, that we've peaked there. But he just keeps coming back year after year.
And then he said the same thing when, okay, well, the Rhea thing, put life back into it. But once this Rhea thing is done, it's kind of over. And it's like, no, it gets bigger. Every time.
I ate chicken tenders yesterday in honor of Dominik Mysterio.
I ate chicken tenders yesterday, but it's because most days I eat chicken tenders at some point in the day.
I really enjoyed you recently on the WrestleMania 9 documentary, Becoming a Spectacle. That must have been so much fun to be a part of.
I mean, so much fun because I legit love WrestleMania 9. It I think it's probably, for whatever reason, it just hits the right time. It's my most nostalgic WrestleMania. And so when I get this call, it's like, hey, we're doing a documentary on WrestleMania 9. I'm like, like just WrestleMania 9. They're like, yeah, we have all this footage. I was like, yes, I would love for you guys to talk to me on camera about WrestleMania.
I would love to talk about two doinks.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. And by the way, I had no idea that they were just going to use all of it. But they were just like, what do you like about that match so much? And I'm like, I mean, you want me to give you a soundbite? And they're like, no. I go, all right, wow.
But it is an amazing story about how that all came together.
Yeah. And to me, it still is. Without irony, it's such a great finish. Without irony, Matt Bourne's portrayal of Doink, that first year or so, is such a good character. And he did such an amazing job that I think too often people kind of think about Doink in that sort of 93, 94 silliness and don't remember that the guts of it, it's amazing.
Well, it's WrestleMania weekend. We're talking about WrestleMania moments. I saw WWE recently asking some of the stars of WWE their favorite WrestleMania moments. What makes your sort of top five?
Top five WrestleMania moments. Honestly, without putting them in order, I think, without recency bias, WrestleMania 40's main event on Sunday is there. Top five moments. There's something about, I don't know if there's a moment to it. There's something about that Undertaker and Edge match at WrestleMania 24 that just feels special. You know,
I thought it was the end of the streak.
Yeah, you thought it was the end of the streak, and that Edge of all people, who was never necessarily from the beginning sort of destined to be that main event guy, got to that main event spot. I love that moment. Same WrestleMania, Shawn and Ric Flair. There's a ton of them. There's a ton of WrestleMania.
You could do the top five moments from the last 5 years, probably. I've been lucky enough to have been in attendance for that. Phil and I nearly blacked out when Cody Rhodes returned to WWE
that's Cody's return at 38 is 100% on the list.
Because we just didn't know at the time what it was going to be.
And even if we knew, we were like, but no. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's going to be some kind of weirdo. And when he not only returned, for me it was the music hitting, and you're like, no way, the logo. Because now we almost take it for granted. Yeah. But when we were like, he's bringing the logo, like the whole act, the whole act that was created outside of WWE is now here. And you're like, this is, I mean, it never happened.
It's been an amazing few years. Obviously, Cody going up against John Cena in the main event of Night 2 this year. But I think it was one of those moments when you saw, when Cody came in for that match against Seth at 38, it was an amazing moment. But we wondered, I think everyone collectively wondered, right, where does he go from here? But now, I mean, the last, 2-3 years, he is the guy in WWE, and he completely merits that spot.
Yeah, and well, it goes back to consistency. Yeah. Like the fact that, and also that he did it as a babyface, like that's, I would have thought impossible.
Yeah.
Like to be a real babyface, to get cheered by everyone, not just like, well, the kids like him, but the adults don't like him so much. Like he still gets cheered by everybody. He acts like a good guy. He's the hero. And like he's managed to not only capture, but maintain and grow our attention for, like you said, 3 years.
I remember in the aftermath of WrestleMania 39, I think I myself even questioned, like, all right, but if we're saving this to WrestleMania 40, is he still going to be received like this? And I mean, what a moment it was, like you say.
I mean, there were people that were like, yeah, but it's going to be in Philly and they're going to boo him. And it's like, just let Cody do his thing. Like, and that's why it's frustrating that there are still people who kind of doubt Cody's ability. Because to me, it's like when you can go from WrestleMania 39 and losing to getting to WrestleMania 40 and making it so wanted that people were like, oh, Rock versus Roman? No thanks.
Yeah.
We're going to go with the Cody match. That's like, once you can do that, you kind of have carte blanche to be like, yeah, try everything.
And you've got to mention Roman Reigns in all this. He's had a phenomenal 5 years now, and he's in the main event again this year, understandably, and he's talking at the moment about having a year left on his deal, and then maybe a couple of years if we're lucky following that. But the transformation in him as well, in terms of like public perception, is really nice to see.
Yeah. First of all, I don't want to talk about him leaving.
Yes.
It makes me too sad. I don't want to talk about that at all. But the thing that's remarkable about him is not only has this, I think the what he's done with the Bloodline that's the story that's changed the idea of how we take in stories. Like this idea that you can have this long-term story with moving parts and different people, and it spans and this, but also like the real conversation that when people like us are having bigger conversations like Mount Rushmore or whatever, like now people really do go, I kind of think Roman is there. And it's just because of the last 5 years.
And for years it was like, he's never going to be a babyface no matter what you try. And then he says, yeet, on an episode of SmackDown, and all is forgiven.
And I think there's a way that he comes out of WrestleMania an even bigger babyface.
It's such an exciting time for him. And I think, arguably Cody and Roman, and there's numerous others, Sammy we should mention in there alongside the likes of Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair and people like that. They were the catalyst behind Raw getting this amazing deal with Netflix, and obviously you do the Raw recap podcast with Megan Moran, and there's not many better times I can think of to be a wrestling fan right now, and for it to sort of break through into the wider conversation. Like the amount of people I know who've said since Raw's return to Netflix, for example, especially in Britain, I've got to go back to it. It's wrestling. It's always there.
Yeah. And you see it, and you're like on Netflix, and it just pops up, and you're like, yeah, let me try it. Let me see. And you're seeing fans come back. And yeah, I mean, I really like on my podcast on Not Say I'm Wrestling, which I do along with the Raw recap. We do an email segment, and I love the amount because like I've been doing this podcast for so long, and it's so inside, like it's so in the muck of wrestling. And I'm getting this feedback from people that were like, yeah, I started watching a year ago.
Yeah.
And it's like you're becoming hardcore fans. And a year ago, you weren't even watching at all. It's nuts.
It's amazing to see the transformation of I hate the term casual fans. It's just, fans who don't want to admit that it's a guilty pleasure for all of us, no matter how we want to deny it. And then in the end, if you just embrace it, you get so much more out of it.
That's what's so great. That's probably one of the funnest parts of doing the Raw Recap podcast is that like I'm doing it with Megan, and Megan wasn't a wrestling fan before she started working for WWE, but like has become through working there like also a super fan. Yeah. So it's like, we're texting during the show and talking about, storylines and everything. So the fact that like we can sit down and do a podcast format show where you have to be able to have those conversations and explore storylines and talk about why things could or couldn't happen. And she's like right there in it.
It's the fantasy booking just like the rest of us.
It's the best. It's so fun to see.
Yeah, it's an amazing transformation, I think, that we've seen over recent years. And like Triple H going into the Hall of Fame is the big catalyst behind that as well. A lot of credit has to go to him in terms of how things have just completely transformed in recent years for WWE.
Yeah, and I think credit has to go to him, not only because he's the head of creative, but because if you look at the way he's done things, like his philosophies. If you go back to that NXT Black and Gold era, like Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano was a 1.5 year long story. Like these sort of epic, big concept stories are something that he really gets into, and I think that it rewards us for watching, because it's these things do pay off, and the longer we watch, the bigger the payoffs are.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you look at not just Roman Reigns, but Gunther's IC title reign as well, and he has people obviously he has worked with and has a great relationship with, but that only just sort of solidifies, like you say, the investment and the reward for the fans.
Yeah, absolutely, and even making it so that everything has substance. Like you look at the triple threat match at WrestleMania with Seth and Roman and Punk, and within the story of that match that's been told over the course of 6 weeks or whatever, you've interwoven 10 years of history. So if those of us that have been watching that whole time, it's oh yeah, that is how he hit Roman with the Shield. Oh yeah, that is when Punk left. Oh yeah, Paul Heyman did say that in 2013.
I really like the stuff that he's done with Drew and Damian Priest in terms of, it was other factors. It was Drew and Punk and what have you, and Damian obviously benefited from that. But drawing on the amount of times those two have interacted, whilst we were so hyper focused on Drew and Punk, and the way that's all come together.
Yeah, and it makes you go when you look at Drew and Damian now, it makes you go, well, was that always the plan? Yeah. Or did they look at what happened and realize oh, it's been Damian every time. There's a story here. And the fact that we don't know but can talk about it that's why we're able to make content about wrestling, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's obviously WrestleMania weekend, and one of the most exciting moments, other than WrestleMania, of course, is the Raw after WrestleMania, where we see huge returns, debuts, and what have you. I'm a huge fan of NXT. Who for you are some of the standout people that you're looking forward to making that leap up to the main roster? We've heard a lot of talk, obviously, about the likes of Roxanne Perez, but is there anyone else that catches your eye alongside her?
Yeah, I mean, I think Jada Parker is massive. I got so happy when they added her to the NXT Women's Championship match, because we all thought it was just going to be kind of the kind of established stars, for lack of a better term. But the fact that Jada Parker comes in, I think Jada Parker is poised to almost have a Tiffany Stratton type of road, where it's I just don't know anybody that looks at her, watches her, and isn't just that's it. Yeah. And I feel like it's just a matter of more eyeballs hitting her to go yep, it snowballs like that.
I genuinely think she benefits as well. I think personally, the NXT female roster is probably the strongest female roster in all of wrestling right now, because not only have you got the rising stars that they've developed over the years in terms of your Roxanne Perez's, and we obviously saw what happened with Tiffany Stratton moving up to the main roster, but adding the likes of Julia and Stephanie Vaquer, and all the other additions that they've brought in. Jordan Grace, obviously, it is stacked with talent, and then you have people like Kalani Jordan underneath that, and Thea Hale and people like that coming through that will only benefit from working with those sorts of people.
100%. Yeah, 100%. And then on the other side of things, I think that I'm really intrigued to see what a Javon Evans, just because he's got such a younger energy, and he's almost got that he's a young version of Jey Uso, in the sense that he just has this instant connection with the audience, and you just instantly want to root for him. And then, I mean, of course, seeing Obafemi come up and be that beast on Raw or SmackDown. Yeah.
I saw someone genuinely the other day, fantasy booking, and we've seen what the man can do. Braun Breaker finally winning the world title, and then getting squashed the next night by Obafemi because of how much of an impact that man's going to have as well when he finally does make the move to the main roster.
Yeah, I mean, that would be great. And then you can watch Braun Breaker, who had this great, run up. He's got to slowly rebuild and figure out how to take down this beast that nobody can take down. Yeah, it's awesome.
However, it's been a lovely time chatting to you, and I don't want to spoil it with my final question, but I've promised myself I'm going to try and ask as many people this weekend. Okay. It's a big weekend for John Cena, heel John Cena, fighting for the world title against Cody Rhodes. He sold his soul to The Rock.
Right.
Sam Roberts, what would you sell your soul for?
I did. I plugged the podcast on the press conference. That's what he did. I was like, yeah, if you need any other souls, he was like, I mean, I could plug your podcast. I was like, done.
There you go.
Done. DJ, whatever you need. Yeah, that was it. So not only would I have.
Worth it.
Yeah.
There you go. Sam Roberts, a pleasure to touch you. Thank you so much.
Too.